Miss Robinson had always been eccentric. You wouldn't notice at first. Her wavy brown hair, grey eyes, and radiant smile usually set people at ease when they saw her, but sooner or later, her quirky nature would always give in. Her name is Gertrude. His name is Herbert. And would you please stop flirting with Ruby over there, Samuel? You have a boyfriend. Seem ordinary? It does, doesn't it? Until you realize that Gertrude is the name of the back wall of our classroom, and Herbert is the ceiling. Ruby's our resident lefty, if you're wondering. Not my fault there was only one seat available that day. Most parents would have killed to have her removed. Most parents are idiots. Miss Robinson was fun, energetic, and one of the best teachers I'd ever had. You'd be hard-pressed to find another teacher with such a passion for their subject as Miss Robinson, which only further cemented her abilities as a more than competent teacher, which was one of many reasons I'd always chosen to ignore the less funny facets of her teaching regimen, such as the near obnoxious amount of perfume that was constantly being sprayed around the classroom. You couldn't enter the place without at least one tear rolling down your cheeks. When I asked her what it was, she just said that the janitorial staff were testing out new cleaning products. And they couldn't have done it in the classroom that wasn't being used? I asked, strapping my face mask on. Common sense isn't as common as you might expect, she muttered, obviously displeased. You'd think they'd learn the first time. When I turned back to ask her what the hell that meant. Ninja disappearing trick. Never gets old. Until it does, and with Miss Robinson it got old fast. Like, this is the 100th time this week, kind of fast. Every time I tried to ask her about the smell, or the creepy groans, she just vanished. Oh, I didn't mention the creepy groans. They happened when I was alone, or when the class was actually silent. Sometimes, when we were really bored and the teachers were out, we'd tell them to shut up, or groan back. That usually made them quiet down. Or at least they used to. Now, I'm not so sure. Now I think I'm noticing patterns that I never knew of before. Strange patterns. I didn't even notice it at first, until one of my friends pointed it out for me. Hey, you haven't seen Annie at school lately? Stephanie asked. Annie and I weren't close or anything like that, but it was weird of her to skip school for 2 weeks straight. Even weirder was the fact that when we checked, nobody knew what was happening. Apparently, her parents packed up and left in the break or something. We got a new student though, Mark. Miss Robinson and Mark seated to the far back of the classroom, saying that Annie would like the company. Sometimes I can't believe how stupid I was. Maybe it was the fact that I'd known Miss Robinson for so long. It felt impossible to me that she might be anything other than good. I keep trying to tell myself it wasn't my fault. I was a child, trying to survive my high school years. But that doesn't stop the memories. It doesn't stop the pain, the guilt, and the shame. It doesn't stop me from curling up into a ball every time I remember it, screaming until the sounds fade away and the only thing I hear is my own pitiful sobbing. There's a storage room in my school that nobody goes to. People say it's haunted or something, and that's why everyone, even the janitors, stay far away from it. My friends thought it would be funny if I were to stay back there in school. Obviously, I wasn't too pleased with the prospect of spending what could have been a productive or fun night in the hellscape we call our second home, but the 5,000 bucks they threw in helped sweeten the pot. The plan was simple. While everyone else left the school, I'd be hanging back in the storage room until 6 in the morning, at which point I'd head out using my friend's key. My parents were out of town, so it would be fine. Careful, I heard there's ghosts down there, Jack joked, handing me a bottle of water before he left. I downed it in a gulp. The storage room was surprisingly comfy, to be perfectly honest. Sure, a little cold, but nothing like I expected. Best of all was the smell, or lack thereof. After spending years being assaulted by ridiculous amounts of perfume, it was a welcome change. I plugged in my earphones and waited to fall asleep, my alarm already set for 6 a.m. It was midnight when I heard the scratching. I tried to ignore it at first. Maybe a cat or something got in. I couldn't do anything about that, so I just tried my best to fall back asleep. I failed and ended up doing a few stretches when I heard something else. Something darker. Sam? Her voice was distant, and yet so close I could feel her breath on my nape. Annie? I sat there, waiting for a reply. Possibilities rolled through my mind. A prank? Possible, but unlikely. My friends had a 5-mile radius policy set as soon as the school ended. Maybe they put some kind of timed recording. I looked around the storage room. The place was sparse. Nowhere you could hide a recorder. I sighed and turned on my phone flashlight. For a moment, the light burned into my retina, and I stood against the wall, dizzy and blind. A few moments passed, and when the spots in my vision began to clear, I felt vertigo hit me like a freight train on steroids. The room had become narrower or longer? I wasn't sure, but something was wrong. I staggered forward, and the room twisted again. I kept walking, trying my best to make sense of this strange spatial anomaly. Using my phone as a flashlight, I managed to navigate the corridors. I'd have time to wonder what the hell this was about later. Right now, I needed to find a way out. Samuel. Sammy? Sam! The words kept echoing in the back of my head. I screwed my eyes shut, trying to focus, but it wasn't working. The world kept turning and changing around me. Sometimes I saw hands crawling out of the walls. Sometimes they came from the floor. Some were skeletal. Others were made of decaying flesh and blood. What the hell was happening? I must have walked for hours. No, tens of thousands of hours, but the nightmare showed no sign of ending. Would I be trapped here forever? Would I never get to see sunlight again, or tell my parents I loved them? I got my answer when the storage room door opened. Samuel, Miss Robinson asked breathlessly, what do you think you're doing? I couldn't answer. I just fell to the ground, too tired to say anything. When I woke up, the doctors said I had hallucinated. Apparently my friends had drugged me with some sort of hallucinogen, and that's what caused my hallucinations. I fainted because I'd spent 3 hours walking in the same room. I'd crashed into the wall at least twice. The water bottle, I realized. The rest of the school year was as normal as ever, except my parents freaked out and grounded me for life. That was years ago. I'm 25 now, and this story had never been of particular importance to me until now. I mean, sure, it's fun to say at parties. Hey, did you know I got drugged that one time? And you thought your story about sharks was scary. But now I don't want to think about it at all. I thought those voices had been hallucinations. I was wrong. A few weeks ago, the school was being renovated for something. One of the workers apparently fainted on the spot when he saw what was behind one of the walls. Kids. Hundreds of kids. Some were nothing more than skeletons now. Others were rotting and decayed. And you want to know the worst part? Some of them were still alive. Their faces were the most horrifying sight I have ever seen. The chemicals had been the school's way of stopping the smell and infections. The voices were the kids trying to call out for help. The walls were thin enough that they could speak, but judging by the state they were in, even breathing would have been difficult. The police still aren't sure how the hell they did it. Whatever it was designed so that nobody would ever figure it out. Some of the kids weren't even from our town. All of them matched missing case reports from the last 50 years, ranging from all our town all the way to, I don't even know. Gertrude Gilbert, Herbert Jennings, Annie Myers. The police have no suspects, no leads. Miss Robinson is gone, along with the rest of the faculty. I have no idea how this hasn't made national news yet. I'm afraid it never will. Nobody likes to admit when they made mistakes, and trusting Miss Robinson was the greatest mistake of all.